Hi everyone, I'm Trisha again from Product Labs, and this is session number 3, Sketching Part 2. This session is in continuation to previous session on sketching. In this session, we'll be learning to define constraints in Sketch, mirror the sketch entities, divide and delete segments, and many more operations. So let's get started.
Now, we'll learn to draw centerline. So, let us click on the button named as Centerline. Now, click anywhere in the graphics window to draw the centerline. We have option to draw tangent centerline also. First, let us draw two circles. Now, choose the option Tangent Centerline. Next, click on both the circles one by one to draw centerline tangent to these circles. Now, delete the sketch. Next, we'll learn to create point. So, before doing that, we'll create a sketch, say a rectangle. Now, click on the button labeled as point in the top menu bar. Now, we can create points on this sketch. These points are construction points which facilitate sketching and do not appear in the drawing as an entity. But the point option in the left side under datum category is geometry point, and it would appear in the drawing also. Same is true for centerline. Left side centerline is geometry centerline, which would appear in drawing also, whereas right side one is to facilitate the sketching and does not appear in drawing. Next is to learn modification of created entities. So, first create a rectangle. Now, click on the Modify button in the top menu bar. And then click on the dimension to be modified. A dialog box appears. In this box, we can directly enter the modified value of dimension in the given field. Or, we can use this rotation knob for fine adjustment. Now, we'll learn how to mirror a geometry. By default, mirror button remains inactive unless mirror parameters are completely defined. First, we need to draw a mirror reference to mirror any geometry. For that, we can draw a construction line. Now, we'll draw a sketch which needs to be mirrored. Now, we have to select this geometry before we click on Mirror button. After selection, Mirror button gets activated. Now, click on Mirror button and then click on Mirror reference. Mirrored geometry is produced on the other side of reference line. We can mirror both of these geometry vertically down as well. Now, select Horizontal Mirror Reference. Next, we'll learn to use Divide function. To do that, create a geometry first. Now, click on Divide button. Click on the line where it has to be divided. Now, this line has been divided into 3 smaller segments. Similarly, we can divide the line in the top. Now, delete this smaller segment of the line. Next, we'll learn delete segment function. Firstly, we'll create a geometry. It can be any arbitrary geometry for learning purpose. Now, click on Delete Segment button on the top. Now, we can click on the segments to be deleted. Next, we'll learn to create a corner in a sketch. To do that, we need to have a sketch, so let us draw that first. We are purposely leaving one corner open. Click on the corner button now and then click on both the lines one after another. Now, corner is formed and sketch is closed. If we need to rotate any sketch, we have to select it first and then click on Rotate button in the top menu bar. Now by holding this point, we can rotate the sketch. Or alternatively, we can input the rotation angle value here in this field. And this is scale factor to increase or decrease the size of sketch. Next set of functions is known as sketch constraints. These constraints are vertical, horizontal, perpendicular, tangent, midpoint, coincident, symmetric, equal, and parallel. Using these constraint types, we have to ensure that the sketch is fully constrained so that sketch does not get changed or modified unknowingly while creation or editing. Now, we'll demonstrate as how to use these constraints. Make it vertically by using vertical constraint. Add horizontal constraint to this line. Notice the letter H on top of line. It represents that the line is horizontal. Now, we'll make one line perpendicular to another line. We can notice that perpendicular symbol also appears when two lines become perpendicular to each other. Now, we'll be making a line tangent to a circle. To do this, click Tangent Constraint and then click on the circle and then click on the line which is going to be tangent to this circle. Now, by using Delete Segment button, we can erase unwanted segments of sketch. Now, delete this sketch. Next, we'll do midpoint constraint. For that, we'll create a rectangle and then create a point. Now, click on Midpoint Constraint button and then click on the point followed by click on the line of rectangle. Now we can see that point automatically sits at the center of the line. Next constraint is coincident. So let us draw a sketch to see how to use this option. Our sketch is ready now. Now click on the coincident button and select the center of right side circle and then click on the top right corner of the rectangle. By doing this, we can see that circle center coincides with the corner of rectangle. We can do the same with another circle as well. Now, both the circles are coincident to the respective corners of rectangle. We can use this option for lines or any other entity also. Here, we made endpoint of line coincident to the corner of rectangle. Next is to learn about making the sketch symmetric about an entity. For that, we'll draw two circles which are asymmetric about the vertical center line. Now, click on Symmetric option in the menu. And then select both the centers one after another, followed by a click on the line about which we are going to make these circles symmetric. In this case, we are using vertical center line. Similarly, we can use this function for other geometries as well. Say, for a rectangle. Once the sketch becomes symmetric, we can notice that Creo creates symmetricity constraint symbols for identification. Next, constraint is equal. Again, we'll draw a random sketch for this. Now, click on the equal constraint option and then click on the lines to be made equal. Once the lines are equal, we'll see the equal length constraint displayed together with lines. Likewise, we can make other lines equal as well. We can apply this constraint to circular entities as well. Just click on constraint option and then click on circles one after another. That makes their radius equal. Also, we can see equal radius display with all three circles. Next constraint is parallel constraint. First, let us draw two lines which are not parallel. Now, click on Parallel Constraint option button and then click on both the lines one after other. It makes both the lines parallel to each other. Now, we can see the parallel constraint symbol also. Next, we'll look at the button labeled as normal in the top menu bar. This button is used to create dimensions. In this sketch, we can create the dimensions of the lines using this button. To do that, click on the button labeled as normal and then click on the entity to be dimensioned, followed by a center mouse button click. In the same manner, we can dimension the radius of this circle. If we want to dimension the diameter of the circle, we have to double-click on the circle followed by center mouse button click. Now, we get a warning message which says that there is conflict between two dimensions which are radius and diameter of circle. Reason of conflict is that we cannot have radius and diameter both at the same time as they represent the same thing. Therefore, we have to delete one of them. Next function we are going to look at is to create reference dimensions. To do that, click on Reference Dimension button on the top and then click on the line which has to be dimensioned. Now, dimension appears along with the suffix ref, which means reference. Next, we'll learn to identify the overlapping geometry and identify open and closed ends in a sketch. To do that, we'll create a sketch first. In this sketch, we have a horizontal line overlapping with two vertical lanes. Now, click on the button called Overlapping Geometry. We can notice that overlapping geometries are highlighted in red color. Next, we'll look at the closed loops. To check this, click on the button called as Shade Closed Loops. We can notice that closed loop is getting highlighted. Similarly, to check open ends, click on the button named as Highlight Open Ends. Notice that open ends are highlighted in red. So, with this, we are done with the sketching methodology in Creo.
Welcome back, guys. Trust that your learning process was smooth. Let us try to create a detailed sketch to sharpen the sketching tools. Look at the targeted sketch displayed in my left. This is what we need to create as a practice exercise. So let's get started.
So, we'll open a new sketch file in Creo and name it as E100-006. For the visual reference of sketch, we can refer to the picture of drawing at the bottom left corner. However, it's recommended to refer the drawing in the drawing book for dimensions. So, let us start sketching horizontal and vertical center lines. These lines would act as reference for us for rest of the sketch. Now we'll draw two concentric circles as we see in the reference sketch. This we can do by selecting the circle with center and point option. We'll draw two circles with the same center. Press center mouse button to exit from sketch mode command and then double-click on dimensions to edit them as needed. Next, we have to draw 6 concentric circles on the perimeter of the bigger circle, and they should be separated out at an angle of 60 degrees from each other. Now, click on the circle button in the main menu and then draw 2 concentric circles in the graphic area as shown. Press middle mouse button to exit sketch mode. Now, double-click on the dimensions to input the desired value. Now, we'll draw a center line at an angle of 60 degrees from horizontal, which would give us center for the next circle. Now, we can easily draw all remaining 5 sets of concentric circles as we have 60-degree inclination defined. You can notice that snap-in feature is used to position the third set of circles. Center position is defined for 4th and 5th circle as we have intersection lines over there. And for the last set of circles, we have utilized snap-in feature once again to position the center of the circle. Next, we'll be drawing bottom 2 circles which are symmetric to centerline. Now, we have to adjust the dimensions of these 4 circles and make them symmetric about the vertical centerline. Double-click on the dimensions to change that. Next, adjust the vertical and horizontal position of bottom circles as per the dimensions given in the drawing book. Now, make both the circles symmetric about vertical centerline. To do that, click on the symmetric constraint and then click on the centers of the circles one after another, followed by a click on the center line. As a next step, we'll be drawing bottommost circular profile using 3-point arc. So, click on the 3-point arc option first and then click on both the circles at the bottom one after another. Post this, adjust the radius of arc in such a way that center of arc lies at the center of big circles. Now, double-click on the radius dimension value of the arc and modify it. Next, we'll draw 2 vertical lines tangent to extreme left and right circles respectively. Now, we need to add fillet between these 2 vertical lines and the bottom left and right circles as it can be seen in the bottom left corner picture. So, click on fillet option. Again change the dimensions of fillets as needed by double-clicking on them. As a final step, we have to trim off all the unwanted segments from this sketch. So the best way to do this is to compare it with the sketch we need and then trim off whatever is extra. Here is the final output of sketch to compare with what we need. Same can be found in the drawing book as well. Now, let's switch back to Pro E window. So, let's go ahead and select Delete Segment tool and start deleting unwanted lines one by one. If, by mistake, you happen to delete something which is needed, it can also be brought back by using Undo command in the toolbar or by pressing Ctrl+Z keys in the keyboard. We need to be little careful while deleting segments so that we don't end up deleting something which is needed. Now, this is the final sketch and it can be saved in the sketch format, which is .sec. This ends the session on sketching. Thank you.
So with this, we have finished sketching learning session. If you have any questions, you can find us on social media. Thanks for tuning in and have a great day.